to Around Our World in 80. I mentioned last week that I'm running solo on these next couple of vlogs. Today we're talking about a project that I did. We're talking about my Star Wars cell phone case. So I made this baby all on my own. I did get a little bit of help from Jared on the electronic side, which I will explain, but I thought I would show you guys how I made this. And Punish Prop Style, I will link all the materials that I used in the description below, so if you want to go for it yourself, you can. So first of all, why am I creating a Star Wars case? So as you guys know, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is opening August 29th, I believe. Point is, it's going to be open in September. We originally had booked a family trip for September, not expecting Galaxy's Edge to open, but lo and behold, they moved the opening date up, and so our nice quiet trip is going to turn out to probably be still kind of quiet, but not as quiet as we expected, and we do want to visit Galaxy's Edge. Well, I saw on different Facebook pages, especially in the Prop Tarts group, somebody posted that a lot of people were making their cell phones look like data pads because the Parks Play app for Disney in Disneyland actually has a lot of interactive features that you can play with basically while you are visiting Batuu in Disneyland. Disneyland's version is already open if you guys don't know. So a lot of people were making cell phone cases so that their phones were able to interact with stuff and feel like they were a part of the experience. Galaxy's Edge is said to be just really immersive, and so a lot of people wanted to continue with the continuity and make their cell phones match the environment. So I was inspired, but I knew this was going to be a pretty ambitious project for myself because I have never modeled something like this. As extensive as this, I had to learn how to use new materials for 3D printing. I'm not that good of a painter for models. I'm working on it, but I'm not that great. So it's really going to stretch me in a lot of different ways. So I started out with just sketching what I wanted. I looked at a lot of stuff online, and what it had looked like was a lot of people had basically taken existing cell phone cases and kit bashed them so that it looked, you know, like it was made from a bunch of junk. I wanted my stuff to be a little bit more robust and all in one piece, so I decided to 3D model it. So I went ahead and sketched, and then I modeled in 3D Fusion, and I decided to go with this lining and shell kind of design because I knew that if I didn't want to have the actual shell piece on my phone, I could just use the lining and it would work just as well as a cell phone case. Plus, then I could house electronics in the shell piece, and the lining would cover up those electronics and it wouldn't be scratching up my phone. So I took the time to do that, and I test printed the lining and the shell to make sure that they were actually going to fit on my iPhone, and it's a good thing I did because I was just this much too small. So I went ahead and I made the adjustments that I needed to. And then I also tested the electronics, which again is a good thing I did because while I was spot on for the battery holder, like the actual battery part, when you actually put the battery into the battery container, it doesn't fit. So I had to expand that, and I had to just make a few more adjustments. And when I had everything the way it was supposed to, I went ahead and I printed everything. I did print this lining with TPU. So TPU is actually a flexible filament, so you'll see that my plastic case actually flexes. Obviously, a lot of people have flexible cases for their iPhones, and I just figured since this was the part that was going to be closest to my phone and would need the most tolerance to get around my phone, that it would be better to do it in a flexible filament. And I was really nervous because I have kind of a very lower end 3D printer. I didn't know if it was going to work, but I did some great YouTube research. A lot of people have put out a lot of great resources, and I reached out to the JG Aurora Facebook group to get some feedback from anybody who had also tried doing this, and they had some great advice. I went slow, and yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. I ended up, supports are an issue with TPU, so I ended up having to just cut a lot of the cutouts that I did for the speakers and the charging port, because they just really didn't turn out that great without any supports. But the rest of it I'm really pleased with, and I only had to use a small amount of my X-Acto knife to just cut away a few tiny bits to make sure that it looked really snazzy. And then I took the file for the shell, and I actually printed that out in translucent filament, translucent white filament, and that's because I wanted to make the Rebel symbol on my iPhone case glow. So the whole thing went in translucent filament, and then I masked the Rebel sign off, and I just sanded and did primer filler on it, and sanded some more and did some more primer filler. And yeah, I ended up getting pretty much all of the print lines out except for the ones on the Rebel symbol, obviously, because I didn't want any paint on that, and there's just nothing you can do to really get all of those gone with just sanding. So, but it ended up being pretty darn awesome. Then it came to painting. My original color scheme was just going to be the blue and the gold, and only the wires were going to be gold, and only the like BB-8 parts were going to be blue. But it ended up looking like it was just something stamped and not something that was like welded and put together from different parts. So I decided to add some more gold to different parts and to add like this red so that it looked like a heat sink component almost. And then I did some weathering on it to make it look like it had some, you know, space dirt on it. That's one of the things I love about Star Wars, is that it was one of the first times in a sci-fi movie that we had ever seen something dirty. Not a lot of people my generation realized that, because Star Wars was before our time, right? But before that, a lot of the sci-fi stuff looked very clean and very new. But yeah, I like how it looks like my stuff is dirty, and it looks like it's been through some stuff, and it's got a story. What that story is, I'm not 100% sure yet, but it's got a story. Then I clear coated it. I went ahead and tried a different brand of clear coat. I think I used Krylon on this one, because the clear coat we were using actually gets tacky in the heat. I learned that when we did our Zelda cosplay, and I obviously didn't want that to happen for my cell phone, because especially if I'm going to be handling it with my hands all the time, I don't want it to be super tacky in my hands. So clear coated it, and then I installed the electronics, and this is where Jared had to help me, but we were able to get all of the electronics in. He helped me solder and just kind of measure out and make sure that we were doing the proper wiring for everything. That way it would all work. And it does, and we put a whole bunch of hot glue to finish it off, and ta-da, it turns on. Now you'll notice in the one picture that I took, it looks like it diffuses a lot better, and it does. In the video, as you're seeing right now, it looks like it's just the 3 lights. It's not that bad in person, but it's also not to the extent that you see in the photo. It's in real life, it's something in between the two. I knew I wasn't going to get a lot of diffusion with just how small of a space that I had, and just how small of lights they are, but I'm really happy with how they look, and from a far distance with, you know, it being dark, it actually looks pretty legit, and I'm pretty excited about that. So I will be walking around at night with my cell phone case on, and I'm really pleased. I was really worried that I was constantly going to like bump the switch and just constantly keep turning it on and off, but it's pretty darn flush with the case, and I haven't had a problem with it yet. So that's my cell phone case. If you guys are interested, like I said, I have all of my materials in the link below if you guys are wanting to use my materials. And one of my favorite parts, theoretically this says my name in Arabic. I don't know if it's true, but it's what I found on the internet. It could say a bad word accidentally, like some of those Doctor Who memes. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but theoretically that's my name, and I'm pretty darn happy that I could sign my name on my work. So my nerd is really happy right now. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I would be happy to try to help you guys. Like I said, this is my very first time doing something like this. So I would love to help you guys if you want to try it for yourself. And until next time, we'll see y'all real soon. Bye!